This is a Dollhouse Lighting Essentials Kit from Daybreak Dollhouse on Etsy. Opening the kit, you get a 9-volt battery and cord, 4 warm white LED lights and 2 cool white LED lights, 20 feet of copper wire, jumper wire leads, heat shrink tubing, 6 resistors, and a power modifier. The power modifier, you can power your LED lights 3 different ways. You can use a 9-volt battery like you see in this video. You can use a 9-volt wall adapter with the same port, or you can use a USB port to power your LEDs. The output of power for your LEDs can be changed from 5 volts to 3 volts. This is where you change it. You can just pull this little yellow pin here to switch the amount of power. This is 5 volts, in the middle it is off, and then on this side it's 3 volts. Make sure, depending on the LED you are using, to adjust this, because you can, if you're providing too much power to your LEDs, you will burn them out. You can also power your LEDs from these pins here. These are 3 volts, and these are 5 volts. This allows you to condense this down, so if you're doing a really small project, you can take off the breadboard, turn off the pins underneath, and power the LEDs from these pins directly. The power modifier is connected to this little breadboard. It allows you to add as many lights as you want. The power flows through these outer ports. The blue is negative and the red is positive. The power flows through all of these pins on the outside. The inner pin holes travel this direction. If you want to learn more about how breadboards work, just YouTube basic electronics breadboards. These inner ports are for customizing the amount of power you need for each light. So if you have an LED that requires 3 volts and another one that requires 5 volts, you can just set the lane to 5, then add the appropriate resistor for your 3-volt LED. The breadboard also allows you to add remotes or other smart home modifications to your dollhouse. The possibilities with this lighting kit are endless. The tools you are going to need: jewelry pliers, I use these 2 kind here, wire clippers, a lighter, a ruler, painter's tape, electronic tape, now electronic tape is optional, and string. I use this floss here, floss works great. I also use some tweezers occasionally as well. Step 1 is to prep your dollhouse. My little room box here I set up and designed for this project. So you can take out the walls and the floor. So right here I am creating the hole for where the wires are going to be going out to the board. And now I am mapping where I want my lights to go. I'm using the floss to guide, basically make sure I can measure and know how long my wire needs to be overall. So I'm giving it a little bit of extra length by putting the floss above the window. So here I am pinning down my floss, my string. If you look closely, I have the LED there already. So I'm taking into account the length of the LED with the wire that I'm cutting. I just marked off about 1/2 inch, and I have just stripped the enamel off of the copper wire and the LED light to so I can connect the 2 of them. So that's what you use the lighter for. Marked 1/4 inch on the LED light because the LED on this is thicker than the copper wire. And now I am twisting the copper wire around the LED light. Normally people will just twist them together equally, but I found this to be more effective in my dollhouse building. So I will twist it around as tightly as I can and basically have this really tight coil. And then I will pinch the thicker wire around that tight coil. And that seems to help me have a stronger connection. So I'm going to use some of this heat shrink tubing, just a little bit, to cover one side of open wire because it really stiffens up the wire, and I want this wire to be flexible to put behind the floor depending on where that little section ends up going. Alright, so here I am prepping my jumper wire leads. So these are wire leads that I'm going to be connecting so I can connect the breadboard to the end of these wires. I am measuring a 1/2 inch for and then I'm stripping the enamel with the lighter. I'm also taking my knife and just cleaning off any excess enamel just to make sure that my copper wire is clean. Twisting the copper wire around my lead. Nice little bundle here in a second. I use my pliers to hold everything as I push up. I'm going to be using my other pliers to hold the lead as I pinch that coil in between. Alright, so now I'm going to take some of this heated shrink tubing. I'm going to cut it in half because that's really all you need. I'm going to slide that onto the wire. Place the lead in the breadboard and bend it at a 90 degree. Push the shrink tubing right up to that bend and shrink it. Now the only thing that is exposed is the part that goes directly into the board. I'm checking to make sure that my board is set at 3 volts on each side, because I don't want to burn out my bulbs or my LEDs. Test my lights, make sure that they work. You can take like a marker or a very small piece of tape and mark which side is positive and which side is negative. I'm not using a lot of the breadboard here, so I'm going to move my power modifier to the center and then use some fun tack to hold my 9-volt to it, and then I'm going to attach the whole thing to the back of my room. Now I'm just mapping out, just making sure that I know how high I'm going to put my lights on the wall. I'm putting them temporarily there with some fun tack while I tape down my wires. So I'm guiding the wires in, and I'm using some painter's tape to tape them to the floor so they're not going to get out of hand. And now we're ready to install the floor and the walls. And this is what I love building dollhouses like this, where the walls and the floors come out so you can change it whenever fairly quickly, and it's just a really simple design and it makes it so much easier. I made this little nightstand. Now we're going to go back and connect them. Make sure that everything's positive. Yep, got that right. Now for the next one. So if you liked this instructions, and if you're looking to get a LED Essentials lighting kit, just follow the link in the description below and it'll take you to my Etsy page where you can buy your own kit. So thank you so much for watching, and look forward to more videos on dollhouse making and miniatures and stuff. Cheers.